You don't need smaller goals, you need longer timelines. Welcome back to Empire, and today we're talking about setting realistic goals and realistic timelines. The truth is, most people don't fail because their goals are too big. They fail because their timelines are too short. They give up on month 6 on a dream that was supposed to take 6 years. In fitness, in business, in life, we constantly overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10. Here's the problem with unrealistic goals. We live in a world addicted to immediacy. We want results now. We want the 6 figures in 6 months. We want the abs in 30 days. And we want the meaning from a weekend seminar. But that's not how transformation works. James Clear said it best. The cost of good habits is in the present, and the cost of bad habits is in the future. The problem isn't that people aim too high, it's that they expect compound interest to pay out like a scratch-off ticket. Progress compounds quietly, just like investment, just like learning, just like muscle growth. It's invisible until it's undeniable. Here's why you quit too soon. We give up too early because we confuse movement with progress. We go to the gym for 3 months, get discouraged that we don't look like we've been training for 3 years. We start a business, post for 60 days and wonder why it's not blowing up. Or we start saving money, see a few $100s in the account and think, what's the point? But that's exactly where most people lose. They stop before the compound curve starts to bend up. If you've ever seen exponential growth curve, it's flat for a long time. And then suddenly it explodes. That's what mastery looks like. But to reach that explosion, you have to sit in the flat part, the part that feels like nothing's working. That's where 99% of people quit. And here's the shift that changed my entire perspective. Stop asking what I can accomplish in a year and start asking what my life would look like if I stayed consistent for 10. Because 10 years isn't actually that long. 10 years ago, you were probably wishing you had the discipline you're trying to build now. And in 10 more years, you'll either wish you started today or be thankful that you did. If you lift weights for 10 years straight, your body will be unrecognizable. And if you invest consistently for 10 years, you'll have financial freedom. And if you hone your craft for 10 years, people will call you talented, even though it was just consistency. You don't need new goals, you need new time frames. Big goals require big horizons. One of the biggest predictors of happiness, according to research, isn't success, it's progress. In Build the Life You Want, Arthur Brooks explains happiness comes from progress towards something meaningful, not from arriving, but from moving. And that's why hitting a goal often leaves people feeling empty, because their sense of purpose was tied up in the achievement and not the process. Burnout comes from working too hard on things that don't matter, not from working too hard on things that do matter. When your goal aligns with meaning, your timeline aligns with reality, and then life becomes fulfilling again. Because you stop sprinting for instant results and start building something worth enduring for. When I first started wrestling, I lost every single match. Not some, not most, all of them. I wasn't strong, I wasn't technical, I was just stubborn, but I loved the sport enough to keep going. And year after year, I got better until I was actually good enough to compete at the collegiate level. And that journey taught me something valuable. Every loss, every practice, every miserable early morning was a part of the foundation that built who I was gonna be. The success you see in year 10 only happens because of the person you were willing to be in year 1, when no one was watching. Here's my favorite quote from Pound the Stone by Joshua Medcalf. When nothing seems to help, I go and look at the stonecutter, hammering away at his rock perhaps 100 times, without as much as a crack showing. Yet on the 101st blow, it will split in two. And I know it was not the last blow that did it, but all that had gone before it. And that is what compounding looks like. Everyone wants to build the roof, but no one wants to build the foundation. When you stop chasing quick results and start falling in love with the process, your timeline naturally stretches. When you stop needing it now, you realize that every rep, every small win, every disciplined act is compounding toward the life you're trying to build. Here's a practical framework to help you set your goals. First, set a goal big enough to excite you. Don't shrink them down. Big goals give direction. Set your timeline long enough to be realistic. If your goal is to lose 50 pounds, it may take 18 months instead of 8 weeks. If your goal is financial freedom, it might take 10 years instead of 10 months. And 3, focus your attention on today's process. What can I do today that my future self would thank me for? And 4, detach from speed. Speed doesn't equal success, sustainability does. So if you're frustrated that you're not where you want to be, Maybe it's not because your dream is too big, maybe it's because your timeline is too short. And remember, the greatest mistake isn't aiming too high and missing, it's aiming too short and hitting. So stretch your horizon, fall in love with the process, and let time do what it does best. Compound your effort into something extraordinary, because you'll be amazed at what your life looks like 10 years from now if you just don't quit. If this message hit home, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments what your goals are. And until next time,